This is the event of the year 2009, at least the event of the year. Some people are talking about the event of the century. This is an international event in Paris, an artistic, socialite, financial event. This is the Pierre Bergé, Yves Saint Laurent sale event with 700 items, classical, Baroque, modern, Art Deco items, paintings, sculptures, pieces of furniture, items that have been collected for about 50 years by one of the most renowned Paris couples. An extraordinary and eclectic collection attracting both enlightened art lovers as well as wealthy collectors. This is going to be taking place at the Grand Palais from the 23rd to the 25th of February, and this historical sale is probably going to be reaching colossal amounts. Hundreds of millions of euros. Some people are talking about 500 million euros.
Hello.
Hello, Pierre Bergé, and thanks for inviting us here in this foundation bearing your name and Yves Saint Laurent's name. Of course, the question at the tip of our tongue, why selling such a treasure? Why scattering this collection?
You know, it's very simple. There are several reasons. The first one, if I'd had enough money, and even though I'm not selling my collection for money, if I'd had enough money, I would have asked a famous contemporary architect to design a museum in Paris. And in this museum, I would have obviously exhibited this collection, but also all of Yves Saint Laurent's work, which is collected, concentrated in this space. 5,000 pieces of clothing, 150,000 objects of various kinds, drawings. I would have liked all of this to have been brought together, the works of Saint Laurent.
Was the French government not interested in setting up an Yves Saint Laurent museum?
The French state already has a lot of problems keeping up its own museums, supporting its own museums. I don't think the French state is willing to finance would be willing to finance another museum. And in this museum, I would have liked to have had rooms for permanent exhibitions and other rooms for temporary exhibitions as well, so as to create a real space dedicated to art and creation. All of this was not possible. I didn't have enough money.
So you're selling out of frustration?
No, not at all. I'm selling this collection because I haven't been able to finance this museum I've been dreaming of. And I remember what Goncourt said. He wanted to prevent these objects of art from being stored in the cold atmosphere of grave-like museums. And he was probably right. And I'm also selling, I think this is the real reason, I'm selling this collection because it was a joint collection which we shared, which we developed jointly for over 50 years, Yves Saint Laurent and myself. And from the date of his death on the 1st of January 2008, last year, for me, this collection had reached its limitations. It was a joint work. And as there was nothing left to share, there was no point in continuing.
You're just going to be keeping your collection of old books.
Yes, that wasn't part of our joint collection. It was my private, personal collection. I'm a book lover. Yves Saint Laurent was not a book lover, so it's different.
Does that mean that you're going to lead an ascetic life? You were surrounded by magnificent items and objects.
Yes, you don't have to live surrounded by magnificent objects, which doesn't mean to say that I'm going to live as an ascetic person. I'm not an ascetic person. I'm not going to act as an ascetic person. I'm not going to buy IKEA pieces of furniture. I have great respect for this type of furniture and for everything that is affordable for everybody with quality and good taste.
You haven't turned into Zen person.
Not at all.
Now, adding to the void generated by Yves Saint Laurent's death, you're adding this void.
Yes, and Yves Saint Laurent used to live in Babylon Street, and I lived in Bonaparte Street, and I saw this collection every day because I went to his home every day, and he came to my place and saw my collection as well. This doesn't mean anything nowadays anymore. It doesn't mean anything anymore, and I didn't want to see this collection scattered all over the place. So I think you have to give objects their freedom. You have to clap your hands one day and let them fly away like doves, like birds.
Like birds.
Like doves.
People say that most of the time you picked out the items. Did you always agree with Yves Saint Laurent?
Oh, yes.
Always?
Yes, always. We forged a common taste. When I first met Yves Saint Laurent, he was 21, I was 26, and I knew more about art than he at the time, but then he didn't need me for long to learn about loving art. He had a perfect eye, an extraordinary eye for art, and he didn't need anybody, and that's what happened later on. But we forged, we crafted our own taste, a joint taste. Together we crafted an admiration for art and for creation. And we always agreed.
Money plays an important role now. You got very rare items and pieces of art, Picasso artwork, but you also have other items that reach colossal amounts and values. Why people say, well, those items belong to Yves Saint Laurent? For example, semi-precious gems amounting to several thousands of euros, and they don't seem extraordinary, but there's somewhat of some fetishism.
Yes, I know that. I remember the Bestéguy auction sale in Paris, or the Windsor auction sale, the sale of items in New York belonging to the Duchess of Windsor. And I know that the value of a handbag was increased by the fact that it originated from the Duchess of Windsor, that the slippers used to belong to the Duchess of Windsor. This gave more value to the objects. But of course, yes, it is true that there is a fetishist aspect to all this. But you talked about my collection of books. I'm a book lover, and it's true that when you have a book and you know who in your library you have a book and you know who owned the book beforehand, it gives more value to the book, even if the book itself is not so interesting. But the fact that it used to belong to another great book lover is part of the pleasure.
Yeah, this is part of the game. Now, people are talking about hundreds of millions of euros.
I don't know. We'll see.
You said that you wanted to dedicate some of those amounts to medical research. Now, resources are lacking in this sector. You're probably stormed with demands.
No, I will not be bombarded with requests for financial support. I'm going to set up a committee which will sort out applications for cultural support, for scientific support, for charitable support.
Do you have your own ideas? You're committed.
I am a very committed man, and naturally, in this foundation here, we support the work of Yves Saint Laurent, but also other projects, cultural projects, and we will be able to do this better.
Worldwide?
Yes, across the whole of the world. And I will also dedicate part of the proceeds of the auction sale to medical research on AIDS. I'm chairman of SIDAction. I'm one of the founders of the SIDAction anti-AIDS movement, and I also want to support charitable projects. I've done this all my life. And from this auction sale, I'm going to set up, call it what you like, committees to study each project, each application, and all these committees will obviously be made up of competent people in whom I have trust, in whom I trust, and there we are.
I said that you were a committed man. We know that you have been throwing your weight behind Ségolène Royal. You've been financing her, and this has been subject to contentious debate. Do you think that her time has still not come? Do you think her political future lies before her?
Yes. It's not behind her, because she hasn't had a major election success yet. She wasn't elected President of France. And yes, I think Ségolène Royal has a political future. Why do I think that? Because the time has come to practice politics differently, in a different way. The only three people today in the world who practice politics in a different way, who conduct politics in a different way, and who two have been elected to the highest offices in their land, but one hasn't. The first one is Barack Obama, Nicolas Sarkozy, and Ségolène Royal. This democracy, this participatory democracy, Obama didn't copy this. That's just in passing. Obama has implemented participatory democracy with the internet on a much bigger scale. Sarkozy has also implemented participatory democracy. They conduct politics in a different way. They have freed themselves from traditional politics, which is out of date now.
That's the point. You're talking about Nicolas Sarkozy. Perhaps you would have been playing the role of bait in his political line crossing. He's quite attracted by Mitterrand advocates.
No, I haven't been approached by anybody.
How about crossing political lines? Is that something that resonates in you?
Yes, I'm in favor of crossing political lines, provided there is no trap.
And until now, those that have really been falling for it have fallen into a trap.
You know, people who fall into traps are people who want to fall into traps in a way. You can be in favor of political opening up without getting trapped. Nicolas Sarkozy, whom I know and who is a friend, even though I don't always share his opinions and even though I didn't vote for him, and there's probably very little chance that I will vote for him in the future, but we have to stop this traditional dichotomy which exists in France, left-wing, right-wing, centrist. This doesn't mean anything.
You're not prejudiced against his policies. Of course, the crisis has taken hold.
He has had some successes since he has been elected president. And whenever he does something I support, I agree, I say so. I speak out in favor of Sarkozy, no matter what left-wingers say or right-wingers. Some people, as soon as some people say it's warm at midday, others say it's cold at midday. I've never been in favor of partisan politics.
Thank you very much, Pierre Bergé. This is the end of our program, unfortunately. Now, getting back to what we talked at the very beginning, an exhibition is only going to be lasting 2.5
days. It lasts 2.5 days.
Now, there are probably going to be a lot of people.
From 9 a.m. to midnight.
From the 21st to the 23rd of February. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pierre Bergé. And the news right after this on France 24.